don't get hooked by phishing scams. Again, most common phishing scams that we're seeing in 2021, as well as the techniques that they use to infiltrate your network, we definitely want to see how we can best protect ourselves and protect our data from hackers getting into our network. So let's look at some stats here quickly. Over 80% of data breaches are caused by human error, and that's just us being humans. None of us are perfect, whether that be leaving something unlocked, joining in a Wi-Fi network that is unsecure, or clicking on a link from a phishing email, right? So 91% of cyber attacks actually begin with a phishing email. So with that in mind, we can then conclude that we are the first line of defense in protecting our data, right? If we are the ones that are receiving emails and we are the ones that are prone to error, then we are the ones that should really be focusing in on any signs of a cyber event in our network, and that includes filtering out those phishing emails. So let's first go over exactly what phishing is, right? So this is the fraudulent practice of sending emails, and they purport to be from companies, legitimate organizations, in order to induce you to reveal your PII, or your personally identifiable information. So this is anything from your account information, any kind of credentials, login information and password, login information or passwords. It could be your personal information, social security numbers, date of birth, any of that information that could be used for any of your passwords, children's names, pet names, where you grew up, things like that. You definitely want to be aware of the information that you are giving out via email, and to who. With that in mind, let's talk about the most impersonated brands so far of 2021. If you take a look here, I know that I use a few of these. Feel free to chime in if you use any of these services. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, IKEA, any of these, Chase Bank, I know a few of us use as well. We are definitely always on the lookout for phishing attempts coming from these domains, right? Or asking for our information from these platforms. So let's now talk about types of phishing, what we can, what kind of attacks we can expect or see or try to prevent. So we have phishing, spear phishing, and whaling. Phishing, these are, they don't care who they target. They're sending it out to mass amounts of people. They are pretty impersonal. Hey user, hi there customer. Not really anything to do with your name. And it comes from, it could be something from Microsoft, it could be something from the bank, or just some random email address. More commonly, just a bunch of, reply and a bunch of numbers at whatever domain. So these are definitely just common phishing attempts, your everyday kinds of spam coming in. But then we have more targeted phishing attempts, and this is called spear phishing. So these are personalized. They might say your name. They could have the last 4 digits of your phone number. It could include your date of birth, some kind of information that indicates to you that this may be actually a legitimate email. This could be a credible person coming in and asking for my information. And what's more, on top of that, it does appear to come from a trusted source. And this could even be through internal communication. It could come from one of your colleagues, and we'll get more into internal phishing in just a moment. But that's another thing that you want to be wary of, these kind of personal attacks. And then there's whaling. So this is going for the big fish here. Well, whales aren't technically fish, but the big prize here. And these are targeted to our CEOs, owners of company, heads of staff, people who have access to that sensitive data. They skip the little fish and they go right for the grand prize here. They're targeting directly to you, so they know who you are and what kind of information you may have access to. So they are, yes, you may have, I'm just reading some comments here, so you may have experience with this within your organization as well, and these most always come from a trusted source, or include links even to websites that seem like the regular website. However, they are what's called farming websites, and that's something a little different than phishing, a little more complex. But farming is where they take you to a website and it seems super credible, super legitimate website. It mimics everything, has you log in, and little do you know, it's stealing your information. It's not actually the website. So we definitely want to be aware of these very personal targeted attacks, especially if you do have access to very sensitive information, account information, anything like that. So moving on, let's talk a little bit more about internal phishing, because this happens once once one staff member's email account credentials are compromised. Then the hacker or whoever infiltrates your network will then attempt to reach out to other staff members to get them to reveal some kind of information. So when we get these kinds of fishy emails, we want to check for three things, and that's tone, nature, and content of the email. And let's just kind of talk about what those things mean. So first is the tone. Does it sound like the person you're talking to? With all of us working remotely, we sometimes forget how each other sounds on the phone. We're not always getting on phone calls or video calls together. So, we start understanding how people write to each other, right? So does it sound like this person? Is this how we communicate? Are they putting some kind of weird sense of urgency to this where, they need it right now, it needs immediate action? Are they being demanding or taking a tone with you that they usually don't take? These are signs of someone trying to extract data from you, extract information from you. So definitely just be aware of how they are communicating to you. Next, you want to consider the nature of the email. Is this a familiar request? Do they usually ask this kind of information from you? Do they usually ask you for your social security number? Is this coming out of the blue? You definitely want to wonder if this is something that is usually being asked of you or something new. Or if it's something that you had previously discussed. Is this something that has ever come up in conversation? I don't think so. Then maybe that may be a tip that this is not a legitimate request. And lastly, do you feel comfortable completing the task? Do you feel comfortable giving whoever's asking you this information? Is it safe in their hands? If you don't feel comfortable, then maybe just check it out. Definitely go with your gut on that. And lastly, you want to check the content. Is there an unfamiliar link to click? Do you guys send each other links? Is this something that's usual to you? Would links be communicated this way usually? Is there some kind of surprise attachment? Were you asking for a document? Were they giving you a heads up that they were going to be sending something your way? And lastly, if you're being asked to sign off on something, are you authorized to sign off on that? Is this just kind of an out of the blue request from someone? Is this something that you usually don't have the clearance to sign off for? So these are all things that you want to consider when you get a fishy internal email. And then when in doubt, just give a shout to whoever it is. You can give them a ring or just get in touch with them and say, hey, did you request this of me? Is this really you? But if you are suspicious of that email being compromised, or you feel that that email did not come from your colleague's account, then it's best not to reach back through email. Just get on the phone, send them a text, maybe send them an IM, something outside of email if you feel that that account has been compromised. Don't engage any further with them. And another technique, a phishing technique, is smishing SMS through text message or through links sent on your cell phone. With remote work and hybrid work environments, everybody working in different locations, we do use our phones for work more than ever. I'm sure. I'm not sure how many of you have your personal phone and your work email and your personal phone, vice versa. Just everything kind of mixed up. We just want to make sure that our devices are secure. So smishing are attacks that occur over the phone, and this could be through a text message, and the text message could have a link in it or a phone number to call. I know sometimes messages, if you send a phone number, it can come up like a link for you to call. And if you press that, something could happen. It can come in many forms. So you just want to be aware if you're getting a weird alert on your phone. We get a lot of things about COVID texts from our counties or cities. If you're signed up for anything like that, all things to be a little wary of. So here are some signs that your phone may have been compromised, some things that you can look out for. If you notice that your data usage is through the roof, and these are things that you can check through your settings. And if you'd like a kind of a walkthrough on that, you can get in touch with us if you notice on your bill even that you're getting charged for just crazy amounts of data that you don't remember using, or even any kind of spike you can definitely be curious about. If your battery is being drained, if it's just more than your phone being old, if you're noticing that your battery doesn't last as long, just bizarre behavior, your apps randomly opening or closing, no longer working, or just overall poor performance in general, very slow. Those are things that you can be wary of. Also, if your device is hot to the touch, if it's getting very warm after use, or if you're unable to shut your device down, those are some signs that your device may be compromised. So if you do discover that your device is hacked, or if there's a virus on your phone, you can notify your team immediately. If you're getting anything weird from me, please don't open it. And definitely let F8 know, especially if it is your work-issued device. We can definitely help you with that. You can look for suspicious apps on your phone, see if there's anything else that has been downloaded to your device that you don't remember downloading. You want to immediately disconnect from Wi-Fi and try shutting down your device. And then once you do turn your device back on, consider wiping that device clean. This will reset your phone to factory settings, so you will lose anything that has not been backed up. So that's why one of our other points is to back up your device. Okay, so that would be how to deal with compromised devices and the next steps following once you have discovered that your device may have been compromised. So let's talk a little bit more about how to spot phishing, and we'll look at some phishing examples that have either been sent to us or happened to us. Yes, it even happens to us. So let's see how we can identify these phishing scams, right? So let's be on the lookout. These are things that you can do. You can read carefully to see if something is fishy. So let's see what that looks like. The first thing that we'll talk about, COVID-19 announcements or vaccines. It could look something like this. Fill out a form, or let us know if you have been vaccinated, any kind of vaccination form, a confirmation, usually not legitimate. You can always check in with us, but if you see this, usually not true. Any kind of unexpected attachments, again, like we said earlier, anything that you're not expecting to receive, any kind of confirmation attachments, invoices for orders, anything like that. If you didn't order anything, then you won't have an invoice. So don't open any kind of weird correspondence with attachments. Next is inconsistent URLs. So these are based on what is being sent to you and the sender. So here's an example of that. We have something from American Express, but the URL or the sender here says something different. So that is a tip that lets us know that this is not a legitimate email. So this is what it would look like for an American Express kind of fake account, and this could be anything. It could be a bunch of random numbers. If it doesn't say something explicitly about who the company is, definitely fishy. Anything that is action or update required, something with a sense of urgency in the title, you want to be just wary about. So this is something that could be, it's kind of a combo here of internal phishing and urgency. So here we have something that looks like it's coming from an HR department, or if you have an external HR department, if you use some kind of other platform or software, and they send out some email blast about a mandatory harassment training. This is the first that you've ever heard of it. It has a weird link in it, a weird attachment to it. Thank you, HR employee, very weird. You want to be wary of that. And then, of course, the most basic giveaway, right? Spelling and grammar. We are all human. We are all capable of making those mistakes. But if they're just riddled with spelling and grammar issues, then probably something is up. And next, you can use your radar. So this is just scanning your emails to avoid scams, something using almost your intuition, if you will, on what's going on in there. First is something just seems off. Again, remembering tone of an email. This is something that actually we received, and it just seemed weird, right? Like if you're looking at it very quickly, then you see that it might not be so suspicious, but looking at some other things looks a little weird, right? If they're playing on your emotions, if there's some kind of tone of desperation in the email, yes, sometimes the letters are in different sizes, things like that. If you're noticing that they're pleading with you, also a sign that it could be phishing. Emails from your CEO or supervisor, people that may not get in touch with you all the time. Why are they reaching out to me, right? So here we have somebody who did receive an email from their CEO, so their name makes you want to open it, right? They fortunately had some kind of software that lets people know that this is not from their domain. And then we do see that inconsistent grammar, not a common phrase, and just suspicious language. Again, is it passing a vibe check? Not to this employee. They're not opening it. They're immediately marking it as spam. These tax form requests, W-2 form requests, especially around tax season, we see a lot of things about refunds. Or stimulus checks, even in now, right? If you're eligible for a round of stimulus payments. And then lastly, things that are claiming you're a winner. If you haven't entered a contest, you probably haven't won. So don't open those emails saying you've won a contest. Even the Powerball, who wouldn't want to win the Powerball? I doubt they are getting in touch with you through email. They are not seeking you out. So definitely be aware of these kinds of emails or people who are reaching out to you. Just keeping an eye out, scanning, go with your gut. If it seems weird, it probably is. So these are some things that you can use your radar for. So here is what to do if you have been hooked. You want to turn off your Wi-Fi or disconnect from the internet immediately. You also want to alert F8 of the attack. Once again, just letting us know that, that something has been compromised, your account or device. You want to make note of the compromised information, where you were logging into, what you may have given out, any of that information you want to make note of. You want to immediately change your passwords to all of your accounts, especially if it wasn't a password that has been compromised and you use that password for other accounts, which we know is common. That's why we always recommend a password manager that kind of updates those passwords every 3 months for you. In some cases, if you get a good one, they will go through that, and every maybe 60, 90 days, however you set it, it will just generate those passwords for you, which is really, really great. And then lastly, once you've kind of wiped the device and check everything out, you just want to do a final scan for viruses or malware. And if you, do use the work issued device, then we are usually scanning those during your wellness checks. Anyway, so that's great. So let's talk about what you can do to keep your waters calm and stay really secure. So let's see some measures that you can take here. First is enable MFA, or some people, that's multi-factor authentication. Some people call it TFA, two-factor authentication. It's combining your password with another kind of token or number, anything. It could be your face scan, you could use your fingerprint, a code, you can use an application that will give you a one-time password, an authenticator, whatever you choose to do. You make sure that you have up-to-date antivirus, also that your operating system is up-to-date. You want to keep your firewall enabled, very, very important, and make sure that your pop-ups are disabled, which would discourage you from clicking on anything and also prevents anything from kind of running in the background there. We want to avoid that. Being aware of attachments if you aren't expecting anything, or if this isn't somebody that you usually correspond with, if you haven't ordered anything and there is an invoice, just being aware of those attachments. Also being aware of links, anything that looks a little strange in its appearance, definitely be wary of. And lastly, always protecting your PII, your personally identifiable information, anything that is unique to you, your social security number, your date of birth, anything like that. You want to be careful of where you are including that information. F8 can hook you up. So let's see what F8 can do to help you stay secure. We do provide email filtering if we do manage your email. We do have spam filtering and email filtering on those accounts for you. If you're interested in that, please let us know. Of course, our wellness checks, which are remote, we conduct those regularly for you guys. Then spam at F8, anything that is suspected spam, anything that looks a little strange, you can always just forward it to us at spam@f8consulting.com. We'll check it over for you, and if it is safe to release, we'll notify you, and then you can release it to your organization. AI-driven security, so that is something with either single sign-on, password managers, anything like that, anything that you can apply, that kind of software. And then our 24/7, 365 monitoring, which we provide with our F8 agents on your machines, which lets us know if anything is going on peeking inside your network. Once again, you are the first line of defense in protecting your company or your organization's data. So you want to make sure that you are always practicing best safety measures when accessing your data and also securing your data. If you have any questions about what we went over today, or you'd like more information on any security features to help your organization's data from becoming bait, you can get in touch with us at webinar@f8consulting.com, and we'd be more than happy to sit down and discuss your unique environment and what you can do to keep it a little more secure. We can always do a little better, can't we?